Flory Bidunga is in the transfer portal. This is a big time addition to the portal. He's a guy that I think every program in the country would be interested in at this point, and he's a guy that it was never guaranteed he was going to enter the transfer portal. He was Kansas's backup big man behind Hunter Dickinson this year, also behind KJ Adams, sort of split time between the 4 and the 5, played a little bit alongside both of these guys at times. And all in all, started 6 games for Kansas, played 16 minutes a game as a freshman, averaged 6 points, 5 rebounds, 1.5 blocks. He's one of the best shot blockers in the country. I think he's a guy that projects as a star center very quickly here, um, but just didn't have the opportunity at Kansas. And the story the whole season was, well, he's our guy next year. He's going to learn this year. It's okay. He signed up for this, and when we get to year 2, it's going to be Darren Peterson, Flory Bidunga, and we're going to get some guys around him. Right now, it's a mass exodus in Lawrence, and there's a lot of questions that I think Bill Self needs to answer right now. Feels pretty John Calipari-ish from a year ago in the summer, where all of a sudden your whole program's leaving and people are looking at you, man. What's going on? But that's beside the point. That's for another day. For now, Flory Bidunga in the transfer portal. Your thoughts, Riley?
Kansas, if you are still Kansas, if you hear me, drop whatever bags it takes to get this kid back. Get him out of the portal. Like whatever promises you got to make, whatever role you have to allot to him. I think his upside is still through the roof. I get maybe the contrarian take would be he's just a lob threat, just a rebounder, just a shot blocker. Well, my pushback would be like he could be the best in the country at all three of those at all three of those skill sets. And we're watching a Duke team right now run roughshod through the NCAA tournament field, starting a guy who like excels at those three things and nothing else in common. Malawach. And granted, I know Malawach has some of the physical gifts that Badunga doesn't. I think Badunga is like a very generous 6'9". He plays way bigger than he's listed. Like there were several games this year, G, when KJ Adams was out, where it was like Badunga made an impact. It felt like every big time possession down the floor. Go back to that TCU game where they played in Fort Worth, where TCU was kind of hanging around. He finished with 10-10 and 4 blocks. And it just seemed like down the stretch, anytime there was a defensive play that needed to be made, it was Badunga who was doing the job. Like, I think this kid's motor, you can't teach. I think our friend Kevin Sweeney was pointing this out in a group chat over the weekend. Teams that crash the offensive glass well make it really far in March. Maybe that's me stating the obvious, but if you have a guy who is this elite as both an offensive and a defensive rebounder, he's the kind of dude who like you can build around, and he is also like he's able to fit into. It's not that hard to build around him, I should say. That's your play finisher right there that every team needs. So I'm a big fan of this kid. I think he's scratching the surface of his potential. We'll see if he like develops any more range. Greg, do you want to guess how many shots he attempted this year outside of 10 feet?
How many?
Two. Took two shots further than 10 feet away from the basket. So missed them both. Doesn't get much range, but maybe there is something there. I still think he has a little more skill than people realize, but yeah, I'm a big believer in the upside, big believer in even what he already is giving you.
Yeah, me too. I think Jeff Borzello called him the most sought after big in the portal currently. I think that's the truth. Now, I think Yaxel Lendeborg just entered the portal right as we're doing this, so maybe that'll change. But basically, you're getting a McDonald's All-American 5-star stud that we really don't know what he is. Maybe he would have been a star center this year if Kansas had just wanted him to play that role. And, 2-year plans, this is a really good indication for any program out there talking about, oh, it's a 2-year plan for us. 2-year plans don't exist in this era of college basketball. You better have a 1-year plan. And then next year, if your 1-year plan decides they want another 1-year plan, then great. But this is the shining example of you can't bank on anything to continue at this point. And that's exactly how I feel about Badunga right now. It would be heartbreaking to me as a Kansas fan to see this happen. He entered the portal with a no contact tag. There are some rumors. I think even Flory and his family put out a statement that was like, we are entering the portal with the intention to return to Kansas. And then a paragraph later, it was like, we will think about returning to Kansas. Like, I'd be pretty stunned if he actually returns to Kansas. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, but stranger things have happened. Like, I mean, it happens. I feel like it happens more often than you expect. Like Seth Trimble returned to UNC last year. Granted, this is like a different level of prospect that's sought after, but I need to find I need to find this statement. I love those types of statements that start out one way and then contradict themselves. It's very Coleman Hawkinish last year when he was like, "Don't worry, don't worry." Or like, remember when he was retweeting his own statement, like, "Chill, Illinois fans, I might be back," but it was like very clear from the statement he would not be back.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the exact statement. I swear it was like from Bidunga himself, but it was basically returning to Kansas is a strong option. And then like a couple sentences later, it was just like we will think about returning as well. Like, okay. Um so I love Flory. Little behind the scenes. Be careful with how I say this. There was a video last week I think I did with Carter or maybe Ralph where I was going through some guys that Michigan was prioritizing. And I basically said Guath is priority one, my biggest want, Magoon Guath. Number two is a guy I can't name, and number three is somebody else. Flory was number two. Now, I was tipped off. I'm not an insider. I'm not trying to play insider, but sometimes just the reality of where you and I are in this media world, we get tipped off to certain things. I was tipped off to the fact that there were multiple schools trying to get Flory Bidunga in the portal. And this is just the world. This is how it works. Tampering exists. Kansas was doing everything they could to make sure he never entered the portal. It was very up in the air on if it was going to happen or not. But I was told last week, a few days before Flory actually entered the portal, that if Flory does officially enter the portal, keep an eye on Michigan. I was told that before this happened. Now, I love the kid. I didn't know if he'd get there or not, but if he got there, I'd do anything to get Flory Bidunga. That's how I feel. He should be priority one now that I know about him. Um, since he has entered the portal, obviously there's a lot of insiders reporting schools to keep an eye on here. There's been a mixed bag. There are sites that are saying it's Auburn versus Michigan. There are sites saying it's Indiana versus Auburn, and Michigan's not even involved. And the constant here has been that Auburn is heavily involved. So it kind of sounds like if there's a leader in the clubhouse right now, it would be Auburn. But I at least knew, I was tipped off to the idea that Michigan was after Flory before he even entered the portal. What do you make of that short list and schools to watch?
Yeah, Auburn just feels like when they go after someone they want in the portal, they usually get him. And I just don't know if Indiana, especially under DeVries and I mean, if DeVries wants to make a splash, you get this done. You do whatever it takes, schmooze whatever donor you need, sell whatever vision, lie if you have to, tell Flory he can be a point forward if you got to. Like that's how you make a splash when you're taking over a historic program like that. At the same time, I just think like when you look at what Auburn's doing with a Final Four berth, potentially more, how they use their bigs, I don't see how Flory wouldn't want to enter that. And again, I think there's a chance he can develop a little more to his game than just like catch and dunk lob threat. There were times this past season, I know the assist numbers don't necessarily bear it out, but I think he was a pretty decent passer. Like I think he has good touch on his passes and is a smart basketball player. And even just the way that this might sound kind of silly, but the way he knows how to move on the floor, like he's never, despite not being a shooting threat, he's never really in the way. Like he knows how to move on a basketball court. And I think when you look at an Auburn system right now that's getting a ton of easy looks through this like flex offense that Bruce Pearl has all of a sudden revolutionized and brought back from like I haven't seen a flex offense run like this since the Frank Kaminsky days at Wisconsin, Greg. I know that should speak to all the Big Ten fans out there, but I just think you can find a projectable role for Flory in that where you see a little bit more versatility to his game, and I just think he's the kind of dude he would look tough in those that Auburn Navy and orange.
Yeah,
Just
I
kind
mean, just being like the athlete, rim protector, lob play finisher, it would fit in perfectly at Auburn, I think, in a post Janai Broom world. So, yeah, the interesting thing with Flory, he's only 6'9", and when you watch him, it feels like he's like a legit 7-footer. So he kind of is like a tweener between the 4 and the 5. But he's good enough as an athlete and timing on all the inside stuff that I think you just play him as your true 5 and don't worry about it. To me, I will say this. I think Indiana would be the wrong decision here. Now that's no disrespect intended at Darren DeVries, and we got to see what he's building. We also saw first year head coaches thrive and build really good teams. So if Flory wants to get a bag at Indiana, who was a school that prioritized him out of high school, like it wouldn't be the end of the world. He'd get a bunch of money, and you pair him with Tucker DeVries and maybe some other options. That would be a great starting place for Indiana. But I don't know what that system looks like, and more importantly, you just don't know who you're going to be playing with there yet. Whereas at Auburn, you have a clear picture of what the system will be. At Michigan, I think the pitch is basically, hey, look what we did with Vlad and Danny this year. We're going to make you look that good. Vlad was sensational this year in this fast tempo system in the Big Ten. So I don't know. I don't know where it shakes out. I do think that Michigan is involved. I don't believe any reports that they're not, but it sounds like it's trending to Auburn to me, which I think would be a very smart landing spot for all parties involved.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.